Hello everyone, we are from Group 3 and today we'll be talking about our case study, the FIFA corruption scandal in 2015. Our group members are Mariam, Chelsea, Parveen, Maisara, Putri, Halim, Iman, Tanya, Yanting and Rizal. Corruption is commonly linked to the word bribery, and this association carries a negative impact on how a society is viewed. When corruption levels in a country are high, it often leads to outsiders having less confidence in the country's people, particularly in their ability to manage and grow their economy. One example of a major corruption case is the FIFA scandal in 2015. In this case, several top officials were accused of accepting bribes in exchange for influencing decisions related to the tournament hosting and marketing rights. The incident damaged FIFA's reputation and raised serious concerns about transparency and fairness, not just in football but in international institutions in general. This shows how corruption doesn't just affect individuals, it also weakens global trust and affects development on a larger scale.
There are four main objectives in this case study. The first objective is to analyze the root causes of the 2015 FIFA corruption scandal. The second objective is to examine the roles of individuals and systems involved. Next is to analyze the response of legal and governing bodies. Last objective is to recommend measures for preventing future corruption.
The 2015 FIFA corruption scandal uncovered just how deep the rot went in football's highest governing body. Over a 24-year period, top FIFA officials were involved in large-scale bribery and fraud. The turning point came when US authorities issued indictments exposing how countries like Russia and Qatar may have secured the 2018 and 2022 World Cups through bribery. This wasn't just a recent issue. It traced back to the eras of Havelange and Blatter, where officials accepted millions in illicit payments. The revelations caused global outrage and severely damaged FIFA's credibility, forcing the organization to finally begin reforming, aimed at rebuilding transparency and trust.
And now let's move on to the four major offences committed in FIFA corruption scandals. First is racketeering, which is it involves using FIFA structure for organized criminal activity and personal gain. Second is wire fraud. It was the use of email and bank transfers to carry out bribery and hidden deals. Third is money laundering, which is it is happened when bribe money was hidden using shells company and offshore accounts. And lastly is bribery, which is it is involved tens of millions of dollars and where official accepted millions of dollars in exchange for hosting votes, TV rights and sponsorships deals. So these offences collectively damage the FIFA global reputation and expose how power was abused for personal and political gain.
Offences committed: tax evasion, failure to report illicit income from bribes and kickback, hidden financial transactions to avoid legal tax obligation, falsification of documents, creation of fake contract and financial record to hide corrupt dealing, altered document to mislead to internal and external investigation, vote buying, manipulative FIFA bidding process for hosting World Cup, as the example 2018 Russia and 2022 Qatar, payment made to secure favorable votes, and the last, abuse to power or position. Senior FIFA members use their roles to secure personal encouragement, unmet in legal standard and governance responsibility.
Next, we move to the impact of the FIFA corruption scandal case. Firstly, one of the most serious impacts of this case is the damage to FIFA's reputation and the loss of public trust. As the global governing body of football, FIFA is expected to uphold fairness, integrity, and transparency. However, once the case was exposed, fans, players, and even member associations began to question the legitimacy of the organization. Rebuilding public confidence takes time, and this scandal has left a long lasting stain on FIFA's image. Secondly, there's a significant risk of losing sponsorship. FIFA relies heavily on corporate sponsors like Adidas, Coca-Cola, and Visa, not just for funding but also for global visibility. When scandals arise, these companies do not want to be associated with unethical behavior, as it can damage their own brand image. In fact, in previous cases, some sponsors publicly criticized FIFA and even threatened to withdraw their support. This puts FIFA at risk of financial losses and reduces its ability to run future events smoothly. Thirdly, the case forced FIFA to take eternal disciplinary actions. This included suspensions, investigations, and even lifetime bans for individuals found guilty of misconduct. While these actions are necessary to show that the organization is holding people accountable, they also highlight serious flaws in internal controls and governance. As a result, FIFA had to implement reforms and review its policies to avoid similar cases in the
Next,
future.
the media played a huge role in uncovering the corruption within FIFA. Investigative journalism and international news outlets brought the case into the global spotlight. This increased public awareness and pressure on FIFA to respond transparently. As a result, the organization faced intense scrutiny not just from the media but also from governments, watchdog groups, and the general public. FIFA had to constantly address accusations, respond to interviews, and manage negative headlines, which further damaged its image. Finally, one of the most direct impacts was that several key individuals were suspended or banned from all football related activities. These sanctions were imposed after investigation proved they violated FIFA's code of ethics. This included acts like bribery, vote buying, and abuse of power. Such disciplinary actions were necessary to demonstrate that unethical behavior would not be tolerated, but it also highlighted how deeply rooted the problem was within FIFA's leadership structure.
Now we go to the key lesson of this case. Firstly, there was a clear institution failure where the weak internet systems allowed the corruption to thrive more than 2 decades. Bribery, illegal commission, and the abuse of power were not isolated incidents but were widespread and systematic throughout the organization. Secondly, there was a significant lack of accountability and oversight. The absence of the independent monitoring mechanism lead to unchecked misconduct within the system. It required the intervention of the United States Department of Justice to reveal and address the deep-rooted corruption. Thirdly, and lastly, the case highlights the danger of the centralized power, where the absence of the term limits enable the corrupt leader to remain in their position indefinitely, thereby consolidating their influence. Moreover, the system of equal voting rights were exploited as a tool to build loyalty through the distribution of favors and aids.
These are key takeaways or the lesson learned behind this case. First is impact on trust and reputation. Public trust and FIFA's global credibility were severely damaged. Reforms were necessary, but came only after legal and public pressure. Second is essential reforms introduced, where the term limits for leadership roles, mandatory financial disclosures, and strengthened ethics and compliance bodies. Third one is core as lesson. Ethical leadership, transparency, and accountability are vital in this case, and no institution is immune from scrutiny or consequences.
The 2015 FIFA corruption scandal exposed decades of bribery, fraud, and abuse of power among top officials tied to World Cup bids, marketing details, and internal decisions. Weak governance and the lack of transparency allowed corruption to thrive, shaking the foundation of global football. The fallout led to widespread legal action and calls for reform. It highlighted the need for transparency, ethical leadership, and accountability in sports governance. The scandal serves as a powerful reminder that no organization is above the law and that trust must be earned through integrity.
These examples of articles is just one of the many that expose the depth and global scale of the corruption that shook FIFA to its core. It serves as a reminder that even the most powerful institutions in sports are not above accountability. As football fans, stakeholders, or simply members of the global public, we must continue to question, to demand transparency, and to understand the system behind the games we love. And with that, we've come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. We hope this gave you a clear insight into the realities behind the headlines.